J'ai échangé récemment avec le Dr Jill Bolte Taylor, qui est une neuroanatomiste, qui va nous partager son témoignage d'à la fois un AVC, une hémorragie cérébrale qu'elle a vécue, qui l'a laissée complètement paralysée, sans pouvoir utiliser le langage, dans un état infantile mais bien heureux, et aussi son éveil spirituel, parce que ça s'est fait en même temps. L'éveil a été provoqué par cet AVC. Et donc ce qu'elle va nous décrire finalement, c'est ce que beaucoup cherchent. Et c'est très intéressant en fait de voir que bon, déjà conserver l'accès à l'instant présent, en fait, au soi, à cet état finalement non limité par l'ego. Et du fait même d'avoir justement plus accès à cet ego pendant un temps et d'avoir reconstruit le chemin pour y avoir accès, elle nous ouvre une nouvelle perspective sur comment fonctionne le cerveau du point de vue de quelqu'un qui finalement en a perdu l'usage. Et ensuite a rebâti le système neuronal pour réaccéder en fait à la dualité finalement, à l'ego, au langage, à l'histoire, au temps, alors qu'en fait tout ceci avait été complètement balayé depuis sa perception. Elle va aussi finalement nous parler d'énergie également, puisque apparemment c'est aussi lié, c'est-à-dire que la perception qu'elle a pu avoir, lorsque le cerveau gauche cesse de fonctionner complètement, qu'il n'y a plus que le cerveau droit qui fonctionne, on a accès donc à d'autres perceptions, d'autres ressentis, qui sont aussi liés à ce que les traditions peuvent décrire comme éveil de Kundalini, mais aussi comme tout ce qui est du domaine de la non-dualité, des perceptions non-duelles, de tous ces exercices qu'on va tenter de faire en fait, qui sont certains pointent en fait, dont moi, dans certaines vidéos. Mais cela en fait peut être provoqué ou peut être traduit par la science, peut être provoqué par une hémorragie cérébrale en fait. Et donc c'est aussi intéressant de voir son point de vue de neuroanatomiste. Elle a les deux perspectives, et donc elle va nous le partager ici. Donc je mettrai donc tous les liens sous la vidéo des deux livres qu'elle a écrits. Le premier c'était My Stroke of Insight, qui a été traduit par Voyage au-delà de mon cerveau. Et Whole Brain Living, le cerveau, cette équipe de choc, qui a été traduit comme ça en français. Et puis le TED Talk, qui l'a rendu finalement célèbre, et qui a rendu TED Talk célèbre aussi, puisque ça a été le premier, ça a vraiment lancé TED Talk. Il y a eu plus de 28 millions de vues, je crois, à ce jour. Et donc je vous invite vraiment à aller voir ce TED Talk, où elle témoigne complètement de ce périple, de ce voyage qu'elle a vécu, d'une hémorragie cérébrale jusqu'à la rémission.
So from a neuroanatomist point of view, what is the ego?
So the ego is a group of cells. Every ability we have inside of our brain is because there's a group of cells that perform that function. And there's a group of cells that in the left hemisphere that say, I am an individual. I am separate from that which is around me. And there is a holographic image of me inside of that left hemisphere. And those are the boundaries of where I begin and where I end. And so as far as the ego is concerned, it's a group of cells that says I am, and I am the center of my universe. So just like my ability to move my finger is a group of cells, or my ability to understand you when you speak is a group of cells. So the ego is a group of cells in the left hemisphere.
And so, what's interesting in your journey is that you actually lost your ego through a brain stroke, and then you managed to actually recover it. So, can you maybe tell us a little bit about your journey and all the things you've been through, and
Sure.
how
So
wonderful the journey was actually? Because
yeah,
you
it
reached
was.
Nirvana. I mean, how many people actually have this experience?
So I was a brain scientist at Harvard because I had a brother diagnosed with the brain disorder schizophrenia. And so I was fascinated with, what are these differences? What's the difference at a biological level between me, who could connect my brains to reality, connect my dreams to reality and make my dreams come true, and what was going on in my brother's brain so that his brain could not connect his thoughts to reality in a way that he could make his dreams come true. So I became fascinated with what am I, and what is the difference between me and my brother, essentially. Why is it we're different? So I studied the cells and the way the cells organize themselves inside of our human brain. So I was teaching and performing research at Harvard Medical School, and my area of research was in how does our brain create our perception of reality? What are those cells? What do they do? What is predictable about them? And what happens, what's different in the brains of people who process information differently than what we would call normal? So I was living a great life. That was Boston's a great city to live in. And then I woke up one day and I experienced a major hemorrhage in the left half of my brain. And within 4 hours, my ego, the individual, she disappeared completely. And I essentially died that day. I could not walk, talk, read, write, or recall any of my life. And yet I was still alive, but I simply no longer had access or the function of those cells in my left hemisphere. And in the absence of the left hemisphere and the definition of me, the individual, I no longer perceived myself as a single solid individual separate from others. And I felt this incredible sense of peaceful euphoria in the present moment experience. And it was really beautiful there. And then after 5 weeks, after a few weeks, I had brain surgery, and they removed a blood clot the size of a golf ball, pushing pressure on that left hemisphere. And after 5 weeks of sitting in absolute silence and an absolutely silent brain, my left hemisphere started to come back online. With that, the ego that says, I am Jill Bolte Taylor. I am separate from everyone else. And I'm an ego again, and the universe needs to revolve around me again. So, it's circuitry. We are this magnificent collection of circuitry. And then it took 8 years for me to completely recover all skill sets so that I would describe myself to be as normal as normal can be. And I was motivated to write a book called My Stroke of Insight. That was the first book that I wrote. And then the organization TED, Technology, Entertainment, and Design, TED.com, found my story. And then I gave a TED Talk, and it turned out to be the first TED Talk to ever go viral. So my journey is out there in 18 minutes, and I encourage everybody to watch it because it will certainly give you a different perspective of how your brain organizes information.
Yes. Yes, I also encourage everybody to watch it because I watched it, and it's very moving as well. And well, it's your first-hand account of what it felt like, really, to be maybe no self at all as well, to find what was it like for you. You mentioned that you felt like an energy ball or like pure energy. How can you describe it? Because how long did it last for as well?
Yeah, well, I can tap into that in an instant because that's what I am. I mean, I am, you are, we are cellular composition, and cells are alive, and they use energy, and they radiate energy, and we are a massive conglomeration of cells and energy. So to know that as my perception of self and of my, that's what we are, then I felt like a fluid instead of a solid that is solid and separate. And imagine what it would feel like to turn off the rational left thinking portion of our brain that says, I am an individual in relationship to the social norm outside of myself. It's like, those are analytical concepts that, I can live without, but I can't function as a normal human being in the absence of that. But I can certainly visit that part of myself that is not that rational piece. And then all my pain from the past, imagine what your life would be if there was no past or if there were no future and all you had was the experience of the present moment. And all of a sudden I become a cellular conglomeration of energy ball in the present moment. And that's all there is. All that there is is none of my memories from the past or dreams of the future. It's simply what is in front of me is what is in front of me. And in the absence of all the details of the left hemisphere, I become open and expansive and literally as big as the universe in the present moment. And it's that feeling that we get when we look, you know, over a mountaintop and we just look at the open vastness and our whole soul opens up to, oh my God, this is so beautiful. Well, that's what we are. We are, oh my God, we are so beautiful in that consciousness of that right hemisphere without the obstruction of the skill sets of the left.
Wonderful. Yes, it's beautiful. And then at the same time, you are feeling it in the body, right? Because you still are a separate self, as in you're embodied. So it's like pure consciousness being embodied. So does it feel like pure joy and ecstatic feelings and all that? Because it had to happen through you, this sense of expansion, this sense of being, I suppose.
Yeah, we know what it feels like when you're standing at the ocean's edge and looking over the water, and it's like, oh my God, oh my God. And you're watching the sun as it's dipping down, and you're saying, oh my gosh, that is me. I am that. And that is, you know, it's just like I'm not separate from that power and that beauty and that love. And you know, the magnificence of being a human is that we can tap into that in any moment. I can close my eyes and go to the beach. I can feel that feeling inside of myself. I can bring myself instantaneously into that feeling in my body and that sense of consciousness with no language and no concern of the past or the future or me in fitting into anything. It's like I am that love. And that's what it feels like, is this incredibly deep sense of love.
And so you can tap into it now, anytime, just by being still, I suppose, by being without a story, without in a mind that thinks always about time and what's before, what's after. There's no more linear time if you don't want to tap into it, but it's still there if you want to tap into it, right? It's that freedom now.
Yeah, it's like the blue sky's always blue, right? The sky's always blue, whether the clouds blow through and my left thinking brain wants to analyze it and name them, and or my character 2, if a storm blows through and it wants to complain that, oh gosh, you know, this isn't what I want it to be, or if my character 3 comes in line, the emotional tissue in my right hemisphere, and it's like, well, I don't care, I want to go paddleboarding, I don't care if it's raining or not, as long as there isn't any lightning going on. But the blue sky is always there, and all I have to do is quiet the other parts of my brain, not bring my focus to those pieces. But the beauty of being human is that I have all these 4 different parts of me. At a neuroanatomical level, I have 2 different ways of processing emotional tissue, one in the present moment, one in the past future. And I have 2 ways of processing thinking tissue, one in the present moment and one in the past and future as it relates me to the external world. So to me, the ultimate of being a human is to be able to capitalize and know all 4 of these different parts of me, and then instantaneously be able to choose who and how do I want to be in this moment? What do I want to focus on? Do I want to hook into my joy and play? Do I want to hook into my pain from the past and my melancholy? Do I want to hook into the possibilities of getting everything crossed off my to-do list? Or do I just want to experience blissful euphoria and, be that? And that's the power of each of us as humans. And we don't teach ourselves that, because according to our society, 3 parts of us are in the unconscious. Well, they don't have to be in the unconscious. We can actually be completely conscious in every moment.
Yes. And maybe we can go back now to those characters, because we haven't talked about them yet. And so how did they come about? Because I'm assuming, because I've read the book, well, I've listened to it rather, and maybe they just started to reappear as circuitries,
right?
In your brain.
So remembering that, I care about the brain and I care about the anatomy of the brain. as I looked at myself, it was clear that the rational thinking part of my left brain, the thinking tissue, which I call character one, she's organized and structured. She runs a to-do list. She cares about the past. She cares about the future. She's a good planner. She's a good fixer. She fixes everything. She defines what I like and what I don't like. She defines what is good and what is bad in our society. And she conforms my behavior to fit into the social norm. So that's a character one. We all have that tissue. And in some of us, we really care about where the stapler, put the stapler back where the stapler belongs so that I can find it the next time. It's very controlling of people, places, and things. And this is the part of me that was climbing the Harvard ladder pre-stroke. And then after the stroke happened and wiped her out, I didn't even know what Harvard was, much less care about, what a stapler is or where it belongs. So character one is a part of our society that a lot of people are skewed more toward because we value climbing that ladder, the character one ladder, and building that hierarchy and climbing higher in that world of hierarchy. So that's character one. And I call mine Hell on Wheels. She gets it done. Helen, Hell on Wheels, she gets it done. Have you given your characters names?
I've been trying. I guess that one would be a bit more like the assertive one, but I
Yeah.
haven't got a proper name for it, but the assertive.
Assertive. That's absolutely perfect
Yeah.
because that is exactly what that part does. So that's character one, the left thinking tissue in our brain. The left emotional tissue is also of the past and of the future. The left brain, this tissue is so miraculous. I mean, just imagine that we're not just this magnificent collection of cells, but these cells, a group of cells, are capable of taking information in the present moment and stepping out of the present moment into the past. How on earth does that even happen? I mean, just the fact that we have a memory, that we have the capacity to learn and to grow across time is like this amazing miracle of cells. How on earth do they do it? But it's these little character two cells, the emotional tissue of our left brain, that are specifically designed to take information out of the present moment and step into the past and compare it to any past experience we ever had. So that from learning, I can determine in the present moment if I like what is now in front of me or if it has hurt me in the past and I want to push it away. So little character two is part of our fight or flight response of the autonomic nervous system, and it's based on past experience. So it's kind of the no, give me a reason to say no to the present moment based on my past. And so this is our pain from the past. And so if we are the type of people who actually will explore and reflect upon our pain from the past, then we can heal that and we can literally transform that into learning instead of simply being pain. So we have this beautiful analytical left brain thinking tissue that can analyze what's going on in the left emotional tissue and help evolve ourselves into beings that learn. So that's what's going on in the left hemisphere. And those are the two character profiles that I lost when I experienced the stroke in the left hemisphere. And then, but I wasn't dead and I wasn't unconscious. I was simply without my character one and character two profiles, but I still had my character three, the emotion of the present moment tissue. And then I still had character four, the thinking of the present moment. And in the present moment, there's no me, the individual, no me ego. So that's the thinking and open expansiveness of consciousness connected to all that is. So character three then is that emotion of the present moment. Well, what does it feel like to be in the present moment? What does it feel like to have these glasses pushing on my nose? What is the temperature of the air? What is the level of humidity in the air? What does it feel like when I dive into the water and the pressure pushes against my body? What's that experience like? What's the temperature of the water feel like? So character three is this experiential, alive, connected to everything experiential of the body. And then character 4 is the right thinking tissue that doesn't have me, the individual, doesn't have me, the ego. And instead, I'm connected to all that is in the present moment. And oh my gosh, I'm filled with this incredible sense of love and deep gratitude that, wow, I exist at all. Wow, I am alive. I am capable of having this human experience. And that in and of itself is just kind of the miracle of life and awe.
Yes, absolutely. So how do we do whole brain living? Because we have to put everything together.
Well,
and being able to actually, sorry, most people actually don't actually know what character 4 is because they don't
people,
experience
yes,
this.
right.
And that's kind of the if you reach that point where you actually experience boundless consciousness, then in a way I would say you're fine, because then everything else appears as you or into you and out of you at the same time. And then the question is no longer being asked, you know, in a way. Is character 3 is the main character of your life, I suppose. And then a little bit of character 2 and a little bit of character 1 now and then, which are a lot more manageable. But how do we get to character 4? What would you, what would your recommendation be in a way, or what kind of process?
Yeah, you have to know all 4 characters, because if I know who my character 1 is, I know what she feels like inside of my body. I know how she holds me. I know what it feels like to be her. I know where she hangs out. I know her characteristics. I can embody her in an instant because I know her so well. When I know that character, I know when I'm not that character. But I have to be able to differentiate between being her and not being her. So same thing for character 2. I need to know this part of me so well that I can instantaneously recognize when I am being character 2, and to recognize that character 2, character 1, character 3, and 4, they're just cells. They're just cells I'm running inside of my brain. So am I attached to being unhappy? Am I attached to feeling melancholic? Am I attached to the pain of my past? Am I attached to that character 2? Well, I'm not my character 2. My character 2 is a group of cells inside of my brain, and I'm running that circuitry. So just in knowing that I can choose to run that circuitry, or I can choose to run my character 1, let's go to work circuitry, or I can play my character 3, oh, let's go be playful circuitry. These are all activities of different parts of my brain. It's kind of like a hand. If I have a hand and all I have is a hand, at some point as an infant, I'm flopping around with my body parts, and eventually I'm realizing, oh, that's that thing up there, I can make it do that. That's a part of me. And if I have a hand, then all of a sudden I can like start flopping things around, and I can use myself to roll myself over, and I can work at a really rudimentary level. And I think that that's how most humans are at this point. We're working with our brain at a pretty rudimentary level. But as soon as I can distinguish between my fingers, which are like, oh, I can differentiate the 4 different parts of my brain, all of a sudden now I can start doing very specific things and combinations. And I have so much more power over what I can do with my hand than I could when it was just a hand, because now I have digits. Now I have fine movement. I can do all kinds of things. I can differentiate better in the external world. And that's all we're doing with whole brain living and the brain, is we are differentiating between these different groups of cells so that we have then the power to choose which of those in any moment do we want to embody.
Yes, so you get to choose. It becomes an option.
It becomes an option, right? Because then what's the obstacle? What are the obstacles to me being in my character 4? What are the obstacles to me being in my blissful euphoria? Well, it's the analytical nature of character 1. It's the language. We need to quiet the language. It's the pain from the past of character 2. we need to pain, we need to quiet the pain from the past. It's the I gotta go, 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 do, go, 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 do, experience of character 3. So I need to calm that down. So the obstacles to our experiencing character 4 blissful euphoria is simply the circuitry of our characters 1, 2, and 3.
Right.
And we can't do that. We can only do that when we know them intimately. And that's why I say them, and I refer to them not just as groups of cells, but personalities, because they are personalities.
Yes, and if you refer to them as them, it means you're not them, right? Because you're separate from them in a way. It means you can observe them, which means
Exactly.
you're not them. But that's the whole point. I'm guessing is not being attached to, believing that we are that, as in character 2 or character 1, and it's that point of being identified to character 2, for instance, that makes us I don't know, addicted, dependent, emotionally vulnerable, whatever, because we believe in the story that character 2 believes, and that's that point of being attached to the story that character 2 is involved in, is that we get to learn and be free of, I suppose, over time. And that's how we get to be able to experience character 4, or this sense of ecstatic oneness, I suppose, or freedom, absolute freedom from character 2, from character 1. But that's I suppose the journey of detachment might be a long process for some people, but
I think, well, it all depends on how you're attached to your pain. I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? We adults, we tend to be very attached to our pain. Children are not. I mean, you can watch children and they fall down and they hurt themselves, or somebody steals their toy and they'll throw a fit for about 90 seconds, and then they'll look around and say, how's this serving me? And if it's serving them well, they might keep doing it and rerun the cycle. But if it's not serving them, they come back to being happy again. I mean, it's amazing. But not adults. As adults, we routinize our behavior. And it's like the more I run the circuit, then that's who I am. But the fact of the matter is, it's not who we are. We are this magnificent collection of 50 trillion beautiful cells. 50 trillion. Well, if I lost my finger, I wouldn't say, well, I was my finger. It was like, well, a finger's part of me. And it's like, well, my pain, my emotional pain, it's a part of me. But do I have to fuel all the energy into that part of who I am when I'd like to go to a birthday party and actually celebrate somebody I love? So how do I show up? Do I show up as my unhappy part of my character 2, or do I go in and I really bring my love of my character 4 in celebration of? So we just have so much more power over what's going on inside of ourselves than we have ever been taught. But you did say something about character 2. The goal is never to get rid of character 2. We cannot grow without character 2. We have to have pain, because pain, whether it's me kicking the wall and hurting my shin, tissue damage, pain, allows for my brain to send in the immune system in order to help heal any damaged tissue. And emotional pain is just the same. It's cells saying, hey, attention, this does not feel good, and I need to be able to look at it with the other parts of my brain in order to nurture it and help heal that, so I can transform that pain into an acceptance of learning, so I can get on with my life. So we would not grow without pain, because we would never learn from our mistakes or things that hurt us.
We need contrast as well, otherwise it'd be all flat and nothing will be happening.
Exactly. And that's dull. I've been there. Oh, everybody says, oh, why didn't you just stay in Nirvana? And it's like, well, I'm going to be dead one day. I am expecting that's what Nirvana is going to be like when I'm dead. Why not live like a whole human while I have the opportunity to be a human?
Yes, exactly. The whole thing is all about being a human, right?
Right. I mean, while I'm here, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. Why not capitalize on that?
Yeah. Yes, I wanted to ask you about from a neuroanatomist point of view again, what is being triggered? What is the this, I suppose, electrical input, that flow of that rush of energy that sort of rushes through your brain and through your veins and all that, and that takes over any kind of possibility of being otherwise, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, when we get emotionally triggered, let's say I can be emotionally triggered in multiple ways. I can become afraid. I can become angry. I can become sad. I can be overwhelmed with grief. These are all circuits inside of the brain, and circuits run on specific chemicals. And so if I have noradrenaline dump into my bloodstream, I'm going to have a different reactivity than if I have adrenaline dumped into my bloodstream. So they're all very specific circuits. So if I get triggered, once I get triggered, from the moment that's going to be a part of the emotional fight or flight response. And then it's like, well, is this a trigger from, let's say, I hate snakes and I'm terrified of snakes. And all of a sudden I see a snake go by right out here, right? And even though it's away from me, I might have a physiological response to, oh my God, there's a snake and it's only 10 feet away. And oh my God, even though there's a window between me and it, oh my God, I'm petrified of snakes. So that's a different, that's that of the present moment is going back into the past and saying, I hate snakes and I hate snakes for all these reasons, as opposed to, a snake appears in my face and I'm absolutely frozen because I'm having a trigger. So we can trigger based on our past experience, or we can trigger based on our present moment experience. And that's going to be the difference between the emotion of the past and the emotion of the present moment cellular circuitry. But essentially, something happens, the alarm says, I don't feel safe. That's the amygdala, one in each hemisphere, saying, I don't feel safe. I need to fight or flight or freeze. And so, but it's a cellular circuitry. Can we train ourselves to not be afraid? Yeah, of course we can. I'm much better with snakes than I used to be. Heck, I live with them. This is my 8th year on this boat out with them. And I have had to create a relationship with them so that I'm not frozen in fear. Even if I'm in the water and boom, there is one. And that has happened. And it's like, how do we familiarize ourselves, or how do we work through that automaticity? And we use the other parts of our brain in order to do that.
Right. And do you have any advice for people who actually suffer from deep anxiety or panic attacks once they get triggered?
Well, first of all, to realize, it is energy running on circuits. That's what I do. I have experienced severe panic and anxiety. And when I feel it now, I realize, okay, these are cells inside of my body. And first of all, to realize I am not having a panic attack, but I am running the panic attack circuitry inside of my body. What can I do in order to rescue myself in the present moment? And simply observing myself having an anxiety, feeling it in my body. I love paying attention to how things, where they begin in the body, what do they feel like in the body? And now all of a sudden I'm using my character 1 tissue to pull the energy out of the panic attack into the analysis of the panic attack. And I'm now observing it. And in my character 4, I know I'm okay. No matter what, I'm okay. And if I allow this circuitry to run through me and flush out of me, then I can support it that way. So really recognizing we are this magnificent collection of cells, and every ability we have is because we have cells that perform that function. So whatever it is I'm experiencing, it's because I'm running that circuit of cells. And if I choose to observe that experience instead of simply freaking out and feeding it, then for me, that's step number 1.
Also, you mentioned in your book that it takes about 90 seconds to be flushed out, right?
Well, it from the time, for that's automatic reactivity. Yeah, from the moment you think a thought that says, let's say, oh, every time I think about you, you did me wrong 20 years ago, and so every time I think about you, I feel this surge of anger. And I hold a grudge against you, and so then I'm running a physiological response, and I'm having this feeling of yeah, I'm thinking about you, and I'm getting feeling all that. But from the moment you think the thought, the original stimulation of the circuit, until the whatever the chemistry is that has flooded through me and flushed out of me is out of my blood, then wow, that takes less than 90 seconds. And so I can allow these surges to happen. I can watch them happen. I can actually enjoy watching them happen. And I don't hook into it, even though, I can keep thinking about you. And every time I think about you, I can stay mad at you over and over and over again. If I'm rerunning the same circuitry. But really the awareness that I am this massive collection of cells. What choices do I have? And the better I differentiate the circuitry inside of myself, then the more power I have to live the life I want to live.
I really appreciate the fact that you say you may actually enjoy watching them, watching those cells.
I tell my friends all the time, I don't mind that you're miserable as long as you remember to enjoy it. I mean, misery is delicious. If you're going to be miserable, be miserable. Get on your knees and weep. I mean, pound on the floor. Be it. Enjoy that you are capable of being so miserable. And as soon as you do that, you'll either say, well, that was ridiculous, Jill. I'm not miserable anymore. Or you're going to go have the experience and realize, oh, it is so delicious. And then let it go.
Yeah. Do you know, I had a conversation recently with someone who said something very common actually is like being afraid of fear itself, or fearing fear, or I mean the other possibility is being ashamed of shame, and and then it goes around in a circle like that. And
right.
But because we have a judgment, we don't want that to happen. We just don't. It's like not wanting character two to exist at all, and wanting her out really, or and so your point is very important. I believe it's like, because ultimately you are the observer. So, and the observer has no judgment whatsoever.
There's no judgment. And if I respect myself as a human being, I mean, look at these magnificent tools that we have to work with. If we respect ourselves as what we are as humanity, and what humanity can transform itself into if we allow ourselves to do that as humanity in relationship to this planet, if we respect that, then how can I not respect my pain? I mean, my pain is my learning curve. And if I just want to chop my pain out, then it's like, I don't want to learn anymore. I don't want to grow anymore. And it's like, well, that part of you doesn't want to, but that's only a quarter of your brain. You got 75% of the rest of the cells going, oh my God, life is this magnificent experience. And then just this tiny little part of the brain that's saying, no, it's no good. And it's like, yeah, let's use the rest of our brain to actually nurture that part of ourselves so we're not afraid of it.
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
We.
So, do you want to add anything that I didn't think of asking? I don't know.
Well, I think that the brain huddle, the concept of how to bring all four of these characters together, it's a tool that we can use, but we have to know that we have the fingers before we can use them. And the fingers are the four characters. So getting to know the four characters, and in whole brain living, it's chapter by chapter, will help you do the work, but you have to do the work to know your four characters. And then once you know them, then in the brain huddle, you can call them all together in a moment and say, okay, which one of us do I want to be in this moment? So let's say I've been invited to your house for dinner. And I just got myself a very fancy little outfit. and you open the door and oh my God, you are wearing my exact little fancy outfit. So in that moment, my little character two might go, crap, I thought I was going to be like in the fanciest little outfit here, and now I'm unhappy. Or my character one can come in and say, oh, you wear that better than I, and not care about the fact that we're wearing the same little outfit. And little character four can come in and say, look at us, we're little twinsies, right? And really embrace this concept of a situation. And the fact of the matter is, every situation that happens in our life, we can have four different responses to. And when we know our four characters and our four choices of response, then we gain the power to choose. But it takes practice, because we are actually rewiring the circuits inside of our brain for automaticity. And I would rather spend more time running my love and openness and acceptance and vastness circuitry of my character four right thinking tissue than automatically responding as my little two unhappy self. Now, that's not to say my little too unhappy self is not important, but I love her with my character four, so she knows she's not alone. So she can vent, she can learn, she can grow. The rest of my brain can come in the brain huddle and be supportive of her need for growth and of her pain. But ultimately, transformation is the goal of me to be able to have the power to choose which of those I want to be in. Now, that's not to say I'm not always a nice person, because sometimes my little character two gets triggered, and I watch her and I observe her and I enjoy her, and I will look at my watch and I give her 90 seconds. And so do my friends. And imagine if there's four of me in here and there's four in everyone, then that means every relationship we have, there's 8 of us. And that's a lot of character profiles to negotiate. So once I know who the 4 characters are in me and who they are in the people I work with or I live with or my kids or my parents or my partner, my spouse, whatever, then it's like, okay, well, no wonder we're fighting right now. You're in your little character two and I'm in my little character two, and off we go. And 2 character twos will never find a resolution.
That's a great way of bringing about compassion with each other. Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of work to be done for humanity before we get there, but
one step at a time, girlfriend. One step at a time. Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm just now, Whole Brain Living came out. Whole Brain Living is what it looks like, at least in English. I don't know. You don't have it in French. You just listened to it in English? Or did you listen
to it?
Yes.
Yes. I had it in English. Yes. Yes.
So so I sound familiar, don't I? So we're just starting to run courses in whole brain living, and it's very exciting because somebody ran a research project on whole brain living in school systems, where we worked with the leadership and the teachers and the administrators, and we also worked with the parents, and we put them together. And we're now building whole brain living villages within which the children are living, and it's just like very exciting, and it's just starting to explode in the world. So
great.
Yeah, so I'm excited.
I believe it's been translated into French.
I think it has.
It?
Yes. I think that it has. We had
I would check. I will be putting the links under the video and everything else.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure it has. JC Latte.
Okay.
Is the publisher. Latte?
Okay.
Lattice? Yes. Yeah, no, I know it is. When my Stroke of Insight came out, I came to France. And I had the most wonderful experience in Paris. And it was just, of all the trips I took into the world, I have to say I really loved my experience there. So that was good. It was fun. So maybe one day, maybe next year, I may do a European tour on bringing whole brain living. So yeah, it's very exciting. It's just that it's beginning to explode into the world. And I think that in America, in the US, it's going to explode in the school system first. But we're working with people in prison, people with addictions, people who are judges and attorneys, physicians, critical care nurses. Everybody's on the burnout. Even hospice care. I mean, it's amazing how whole brain living is going intricately into our society.
Right. Well, thank you for everything, for sharing your knowledge and being with us today. So, well, maybe I see you one day in France then. That'd be lovely.
I'll let you know when I come.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay. I wanted to ask you, is that the real thing behind you? You're on your boat, right? You're on your boat.
Yes, I'm on my boat, and that's real water. And you might see turtles or snakes or critters go by.
Right.
It's very exciting. Yeah,
Lucky you.
they're out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you,
you very much.
Thank you.